Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you a fingerstyle piece that I wrote, which I think is best described as an old world melody. In other words, if you enjoy playing pieces of music that's hundreds of years old, you're probably going to really like this tune. Now, this tune, it's actually part of our finger-picking etude series. And an etude literally means a piece of music that's written to help you work on a certain aspect of music. Well, this song is going to help you with two aspects. So let's cover the first one. And the first one is intricacy. So think of this song as being split in half. The first half of the tune, you're going to be learning and playing just the melody. The second half of the tune, you're going to add a few more notes to the mix. In other words, you're adding more harmony to the mix. Now, the second thing that this tune teaches you and works on is speed. The first time through, when you're playing just that melody, you're playing at a nice slow tempo. Then the second half of the tune, when you add the extra notes, the harmony notes, you are going to boost the tempo. So you're going to be playing much more faster. So you get to work on intricacy and speed with this piece of music. And this is something that we see in some of these old world pieces, such as Red is the Rose. Now, let's go ahead and take a step back and let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play the entire piece of music. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, and do a search for Fingerpicking Etude number 32. Now, also on that page will be the interactive on-screen tab viewer. This is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this lesson on fingerpicking etude number 32. So this is a really cool little piece that Andrew has written here, and although it is intended as a musical study, like all great etudes, I think this one really stands up as a really cool piece of music in its own right. It's super fun to play this one. So as Andrew has mentioned, the focus of this etude is intricacy and speed, but when we add those extra harmony notes and boost the tempo in that B section, it's also really going to challenge our pick in hand. So this piece gives us a great opportunity to really develop our right hand dexterity and improve our picking accuracy as well. So there really is a lot of added value to learning this cool little tune. Okay, so make sure you've got your high G ukulele and let's get into it. This etude is just in 4/4 time, so we have 4 quarter note beats in each measure. Rhythmically, it's fairly straightforward, but there is a touch of syncopation to that melody, which can make it a little tricky to grasp sort of straight away. And if that's you, if you are struggling with the rhythm of this, don't worry about it. Just kind of listen to that performance video a few times, sing that melody in your head or even out loud, and really just try and grasp that kind of that rhythm, that melody. Once you've got it embedded in your brain, the whole thing just becomes that little bit more accessible. So in the A melody section, we're mostly just playing the melody notes with a chord hit on beat 1. We're aiming for a tempo of about 120 BPM, but if you're more comfortable playing it a little bit slower than that, that's absolutely fine as well. So we'll look at 2 measures at a time, then I'll do my usual zooming in on the hands and we'll play those 2 measures through together slowly before moving on to the next 2. So measures 1 and 2 should sound like this. Okay, and the rhythm there for both of those measures is 1 and 3, 4. Okay, so as I mentioned, rhythmically, it's a little tricky. There is that bit of syncopation there. That second melody note falls on the and after beat 2, which is where that can be a little bit tricky. So if I play that again with the kind of counting, we'd have 1 and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully you're okay with that rhythmically. If you are finding it tricky, just kind of go with that. If you can sing it, you can play it approach, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. So beat 1, we're playing this E5 chord of 4, 4, 0, 2, and we play all 4 strings together on beat 1. and then we let that ring over beat 2, but then the and after beat 2 is when we hit that A string at the second one more time. And then straight after that, like an eighth note later on beat 3, we take that first finger off and hit the open A. Let that ring for a beat, then on beat 4, we're going to go to this E string at the 3rd fret, but we'll need to use a second finger to fret that because that's currently open. So the second finger goes on, E string 3rd, and then we'll just pick that note on beat 4. So just that measure 1, we had. Okay, and if we take that into measure 2, we're going to keep the 3rd and 4th fingers on, but that second finger that we just put onto the E string will take off to open up that E, and then we'll play the G string, the C string, and the E string together, so 3 notes together on beat 1. And the rhythm for this, like I said, is the same as that previous measure, so we'll let that ring over beat 2, but then the and after beat 2, we hit that open E again, and then just work up that melody line, so the E string at the 3rd, so second finger goes back onto that E string at the 3rd, and we pick that single note on beat 3. And we finish off this measure 2 by playing the open A string, so we'll just pick that. We'll leave all these on so they can ring over it as we pick that open A on beat 4. Okay, so just that measure 2. And then together with measure 1. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. So on to measures 3 and 4 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so measure 3, we're playing that same rhythm again of 1 and 3, 4, but we're doing it on a C chord this time. So we'll use a second finger to hold that C chord. We were holding this E5 shape here, with these 2 fingers planted on, so it makes sense. The second finger kind of naturally just falls at that 3rd fret position. So these 2 fingers come off, second finger takes that C, we play all 4 strings together on that beat 1. Make sure that top note, that E string, so the A string at the 3rd, that C note, make sure that comes out loud and clear as you pick that chord, because that is the kind of melody note that we want to hear there. So then again, rhythmically, let that ring over beat 2, then the and after beat 2, we hit that note once again. Then on beat 3, we come down to the 2nd fret on that A string, so the first finger will take that, second finger comes off, pick that single note, let that ring for a beat, then on beat 4, hit the open A, so the first finger comes off, all strings are open, just hit that single note, A string open on beat 4. So just that measure there. 1 and 3, 4. Okay, so then into measure 4, we're going to play this G5 chord of E string at the 3rd, C string at the 2nd. Now I play this with the 1st and 3rd fingers if it was like a normal G chord but without the 2nd finger on. You could play it with the 2nd finger on the C string there. You kind of just choose whatever you prefer. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference in terms of what we played before and what we're going to play next. Either finger there works fine. So I would just go with whatever feels more comfortable, because once we pick those 2 notes on beat 1 of measure 4, we're going to slide those fingers up 2 frets to the 4th and 5th fret for beat 2. So we don't pick it on beat 2, we let the slide sound out that note there. Okay, so try it with both fingers, 2nd and 3rd finger, and then 1st and 3rd finger, and whatever you're more comfortable with, just go with that finger in. Okay, so that measure 4 there was just those 2 notes, or those 2 double stops on beat 1 and beat 2. We pick it once on beat 1, slide it up to beat 2, let that ring over beats 3 and 4. So just that measure 3 would sound like this. Sorry, 3 and 4 together. Nice. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. On to measures 5 and 6 now. We've got a little bit more going on. In these 2 measures, they should sound like this. Okay, so that measure 5, we're back to this E5 chord. We're playing a kind of similar structure to measures 1 and 2, just with a few more notes going on. So for beat 1, we just want to be holding the 2 strings there, the G string and the C string at the 4th fret, with the same 2 fingers we did in measure 1. We want the top 2 strings open, the A and the E. So we play all 4 strings together on beat 1. But the rhythm here is different to measure 1 because we've got a bit more going on. We're playing 1 and 2 and 3. 4 and, so pretty much all 8th notes here apart from that quarter note on beat 3. So once we've played that E suspended 4 chord on beat 1, we're going to hammer onto the A string at the 2nd fret for the and after beat 1. We use the 1st finger to do that, but then pull it off onto the open A for beat 2. So that 1 and 2. So we only pick once on beat 1. Once we've picked that full chord, the next 2 notes are achieved with the hammer on and then the pull off. Okay, then the and after beat 2 we're going to pick. We're going to come to this E string at the 3rd fret, so the 2nd finger goes on. We pick that single note on the and after beat 2. And then beat 3, we want that open E, so that 2nd finger that we've just put on, that will come back off to open up the E. We'll pick that on beat 3, then we'll let that ring for a full quarter note, and then on beat 4 we're going to hit this C string at the 4th fret, which we're holding here with the pinky, so pick that on beat 4, and then straight after on the and after beat 4, back to that open E to finish off that measure. So just that measure 5. And then into measure 6, we're playing actually just the same as measure 2. So we're playing this E5 chord again, 3 strings together with the open E as the melody. And then the and after beat 2, open E, up to the 3rd fret on the E string, and then open A on beat 4. So that's just the same as measure 2. Brill. So then put that with measure 5, we would have smashing. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. On to measures 7 and 8 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so the rhythm for measure 7 is 1 and 3 and 4. So beat 1 is this C chord, similar to measure 3. We're playing it with the 2nd finger there. So full chord hit on beat 1, making sure that A string at the 3rd comes out nice and loud because that's our melody note. Then we let that ring over beat 2, then the and after beat 2, hit that note again, A string at the 3rd. And then on beat 3, we're coming to the A string at the 2nd. So the 1st finger will take that, 2nd finger comes off, pick that on beat 3, single note pick. Then the and after beat 3, we're not going to pick, we're going to achieve that with a pull off. That 1st finger is going to pull off the fretboard to play that open A. And then on beat 4, we're going to come to the E string at the 3rd fret, but make sure you use the 3rd finger to hold that one on beat 4 there. So just that measure, measure 7. And then if we take that into measure 8, we're playing a different rhythm here. We're playing 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So beat 1 is this G5 chord. So we use the 3rd finger there because that's part of this chord we're going to build up now. The 1st finger will take the C string at the 2nd fret, and then we'll play those 2 strings together with the open G. So 3 strings on beat 1, that E string at the 3rd coming out as the melody note once again. So that's beat 1. Then on beat 2, we're going to drop the melody to the E string at the 2nd fret. So the 1st finger will stay on, the 2nd finger will take that E string at the 2nd, 3rd finger comes off, and then we pick that E string at the 2nd on beat 2. Then on beat 3, we hit that once again, but then the and after beat 3, we hammer back up to that 3rd fret, 3rd finger will do that. Okay, so that first part of that measure 8, 1, 2, 3 and, we'd have. Okay, then to finish off this measure, we're going to play the open A. but we're going to be working up to a different chord in the next measure. There's F add 9 chord in the next measure, measure 9. So to get to that, we won't use the second finger, which would make sense to play open A string second, because that'll put us at a disadvantage for the transition into the next measure. So once we've played the and after beat 3, what we'll do is we'll actually take all this chord shape off completely, so we're not holding any notes, play the open A on beat 4, then the and after beat 4, come to the A string second, but play it with the first finger. Okay, and that's going to make it easier then to transition into this F add 9 chord in the next measure. So just that measure, measure 8. Nice, and then with measure 7. Perfect. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... So on to measures 9 and 10 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so the rhythm for both of these two measures is 1, 2 and 3, 4. So beat 1 of this measure 9 is this F add 9 chord, so 0, 5, 5, 3. Try and play the C string and E string with the second and third fingers here, and then play that full chord on beat 1. And as always, make sure that A string at the first comes out a bit louder, because that's our melody note. We want to hear that nice and loud. So let that ring for a full quarter note, but then on beat 2, we are playing the C string at the 5th fret. And this is actually a harmony note here, not melody. It's the first one we've got of these harmony notes so far. So we're going to pick that a little bit quieter, because we don't want it to kind of compete with the melody. So that beat 2, nice little gentle tap of that C string 5th, but then the and after beat 2, we're back to melody, so back to playing that little bit louder, A string at the 3rd. We're already holding it there, so we just pick that once again, a bit louder on the and after beat 2. And then on beat 3, we're coming down to the 2nd fret on that A string, so the first finger will come down 1 fret to play that A string at the 2nd. Now that is a bit of a stretch. If, as you move that first finger down, it's too much of a stretch to leave those two fingers on at the 5th fret, that's okay, just take those off if you can't manage that stretch. So as you come down to the 2nd fret, they can come off and just pick that note on beat 3. If you can keep them on though, it is awkward, I will admit that. I've got quite long fingers and I've been playing for a long time and got quite good dexterity in that hand, and even for me, that is a little bit of a stretch. So if you can keep them on, do, but if you can't, it doesn't matter, okay. And then on beat 4, the end of this measure, we're just going to play the open A. So even if you have kept those on to this point, they can come off now as we play that open A on beat 4. So just that measure, measure 9 once again. And then the reason we've taken those fingers off as we play that open A is just to allow the transition now to this E minor to start off measure 10. So we want to bring the 2nd and 3rd finger into this position, E string at the 3rd, C string at the 4th with the G string open, play those 3 notes together on beat 1 of measure 10 with that E string at the 3rd coming out as our melody note. And then once again on beat 2, this is another harmony note, so a little bit quieter, this C string at the 4th, a little bit softer on beat 2, but then the rest of these notes are all melody again, so a little bit louder. So the and after beat 2, E string at the 3rd, then beat 3, dropping this down to the 2nd fret on the E string, so the first finger will take that, 2nd finger comes off, leave that 3rd finger on though for now, pick that E string at the 2nd, on beat 3, let that ring for a quarter note, and then on beat 4, we're going to take that first finger off and play the open E now to complete that measure. So just that measure 10, and then with measure 9, smashing. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... On to measures 11 and 12 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so the rhythm for measure 11 is 1, 2 and 3, 4. So the same as the rhythm for the previous two measures we've looked at. So beat 1 is this kind of part of a G5 chord. We're playing the C string of the 2nd fret with the 1st finger and then playing that with the open G, so that double stop on beat 1. And then on beat 2 we hit that C string at the 2nd again. Then the and after beat 2 we're coming up to the C string at the 4th fret, so the 3rd finger will take that. The 1st finger can come off once we fret it, and then we pick that on the and after beat 2. And then on beat 3, we're essentially playing the C string at the 6th fret, but we're not going to play that static note. We're going to give a little funky sort of like slide sound into that, add a little frill here to this measure. So when we play beat 3, don't move your finger up to the 6th fret straight away. Leave it on the 4th fret. As you pick the string, slide it up to that 6th fret. So the note we want to hear is that 6th fret note, but we want to get that slide sound leading into it. We don't want to hear that 4th fret again. So don't linger on that note and then slide up. So instead of where we linger, like the second you pick it simultaneously, pick and slide. Pick and slide. Don't linger and slide. That was a linger. Don't linger. Pick and slide without the G string. Okay, I think it's enough of that. So that measure once again, and that's beat 3. Then to finish that measure, we're going to come back to that C string at the 4th fret. So use that 3rd finger, bring that 3rd finger back down to the 4th fret, pick that on beat 4. Okay, then into measure 12, we're going to leave that finger where it is, and then play that C string at the 4th with the open G, so double stop on beat 1. Let that ring for a quarter note, then we've got this run of 8th notes to finish off this measure. So beat 2 is that 4th fret of the C once again. And after beat 2 we pick it once more. Then on beat 3 we come to the E string at the 2nd fret, so that 3rd finger comes off there. The 1st finger takes that E string at the 2nd. We pick that single note on beat 3. Then the and after beat 3 we don't pick. We let the 2nd finger hammer up to that 3rd fret on the E string. That's how we get that sound. And then on beat 4 we play the open A. That 2nd finger, all fingers can come off there as we play the open A on beat 4. And then finish off with the A string 2nd. 1st finger can take that. Pick that note at the end there on the and after beat 4. Okay, so those measures again, 11 and 12, a bit slower. Okay, let's have a go at playing those two measures through then together now. 3 and 4 and... On to measures 13 and 14 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so the rhythm for measure 13 is 1, 2 and 3, 4. We're starting on beat 1 on this F add 9 chord once again, same as measure 9. So play all 4 strings together on beat 1. And again, making sure that A string comes out a little bit louder because that's our melody. And then on beat 2, again, same as measure 9, this C string at the 5th fret is harmony. So a little gentle tap of that note so it doesn't compete with the melody. But then we're back to melody on the and after beat 2. We're coming to the A string at the 5th fret. So leave that chord on, but the pinky now will add on to the A string at the 5th. Pick that on the and after beat 2. And then on beat 3, we're coming back to that 3rd fret, so the pinky just comes off. The 1st finger's already holding that 3rd fret, so we pick that on beat 3. And then on beat 4, to finish off this measure, we're coming to that A string at the 2nd fret, so the 1st finger comes down a fret. A little bit like before, if you can leave these fingers on, do that. If you can't, let them come off as you move that 1st finger to the A string 2nd to finish off that measure. So just that measure 13. And then into measure 14, we're playing this E minor add 11 chord. So we've got open G, C string at the 4th, E string at the 3rd, open A. Play those 2 notes in the middle there with the 3rd and 2nd finger. All 4 strings together on beat 1, with that A string open coming out a bit louder as our melody. And then on the and after beat 2, we're playing 1 and 3, 4. So similar to those first measures of this section for the rhythm here. So the and after beat 2 is the A string at the 2nd fret. So we'll leave these 2 fingers on, and then the first finger will take that A string at the 2nd, pick that on the and after beat 2. But then on beat 3, we want that open A once again. So that first finger just comes straight off, play the open A on beat 3 there, and then finish off on beat 4 with the E string at the 3rd fret, which we're holding here already with our 2nd finger. Okay, so once again, those 2 measures together. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. So on to the final 2 measures of this A melody section now, measures 15 and 16. They should sound like this. Okay, so for both these measures, we're just playing on beats 1 and beat 3. So beat 1 of this measure 15 is this G5 chord, so we'll play it with the open G, C string at the 2nd with the 1st finger, E string at the 3rd with the 3rd finger. So just those 3 strings together. So ignoring the A string on beat 1. And then on beat 3, we're going to come to the E string at the 2nd fret with the C string at the 2nd fret, which is already being held there. So 2nd finger comes onto the E string at the 2nd, 3rd finger comes off, play that double stop, E and C strings together on beat 3. And then into measure 16 on beat 1, we'll just take that 2nd finger off, leave that 1st finger on. So we're opening up the E string and playing it with the C string at the 2nd. So another double stop there on beat 1 of measure 16. And then to finish off, we're going to play this C string at the 3rd fret, and the 2nd finger will just go on and play that single note on beat 3 of that measure 16. And you can see on the sheet music there, on the tabs below me, that little fermata sign on this note here. That just means that when we go into the next section, the B section, we don't have to kind of keep that rhythm going. So we don't hold it for beat 3, 4, and then straight in to the B section. It just means we can kind of hold that note, let it ring for a kind of, a duration of time that we choose. There's no set time to that, just lets it ring so we can have that kind of nice transition. When we're ready, then we can just go into the B section when we fancy it, sort of thing. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures 15 and 16 through together now. 3 and 4 and. So onto the B section now. We're going to keep that same core melody that we've just learnt in the A section, but we're going to add a few more harmony notes here and there just to fill out the arrangement. We're also going to play it at a faster tempo of 140 BPM. So this section is going to be much more challenging for the right hand, but those chord changes are going to be coming a lot quicker as well. So our left hand will have to be on the ball so it can make those changes quickly and cleanly. So although we are aiming for this faster tempo in this section, we don't need to rush to achieve that straight away. We still want our playing to flow smoothly and cleanly. So if you find yourself kind of losing that accuracy and the notes aren't sounding as clean as they did in the A section, that's okay. Just slow it back down again to a tempo that you're more comfortable with. It's more important to be playing accurately and cleanly than it is to be playing fast. Just build up that tempo gradually and it will come with practice. So when we are playing at a faster tempo, I think it really helps if we can memorize the music. If we have to look at the sheet music as we're playing, it just kind of adds an extra step. It adds time to our processing. Once we've got the piece memorized, it allows us then just to forget about the sheet music. We can concentrate on what the hands are doing. But more importantly, it allows us then to always be thinking ahead to the next note or chord change or whatever's coming up. That ability to always be thinking ahead and being prepared for what's about to come, for me, I think that's one of the main keys for unlocking kind of smooth, accurate playing, especially at these faster tempos. However, memorizing a whole piece of music is quite a feat in itself. That's not easy. If that's something you struggle with, then check out this lesson, whichever side this thing comes up on how to memorize music. There's a few hints and tips in this lesson that are really good to get that music embedded into your brain. Okay, so let's get stuck into this B melody section. So the first two measures of this B melody section, measures 17 and 18, they should sound like this. Okay, so they're based on measures 1 and 2 from the A section, but with a bit of extra harmony and played at that faster tempo, as you can hear. So we'll not go through all this note by note again, because for the left hand it's exactly the same. We're just adding a few little extra notes here and there. So I'll highlight on the tab below which notes are extra now compared to the first time round. So measure 17, which is based on measure 1, we can see is exactly the same, except on beat 2 we're playing this extra little harmony note of the C string 4th fret. We're holding it already as part of this E5 chord. Rhythmically though, we just make sure we pick that note on beat 2, but that little bit quieter. So measure 17 becomes... Okay, then measure 18, again similar to measure 2, except we're adding on beat 2 this harmony note again of C string 4th fret, and then on beat 3, rather than just playing the single note E string at the 3rd like we did the first time round, we're adding the C string and the E string, which is just part of this chord. We're just playing those 3 strings together on beat 3 rather than just the E string at the 3rd on its own. So that measure 18 becomes... Okay, so again, those two measures together, but a bit slower, they would sound like this. Brill. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... On to measures 19 and 20 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so measure 19 starts the same way as measure 3 on this C chord, and the rhythm we're playing here is 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So beat 1 is this full C chord, played with the second finger, but then the rest of this measure now is different to measure 3, which it's based on. So beat 2, we have this harmony note of open C. So pick that a little bit softer. Then the and after beat 2, we come to this A string at the 3rd fret. Pick that, that's melody now, so a bit louder. Then on beat 3, A string 2nd, so first finger takes that, second finger comes off. Pick that on beat 3, but then pull off onto the open A for the and after beat 3, and then finish with this E string at the 3rd. Third finger will take that, single note pick on beat 4. Okay, so that measure 19. Smash it. And then into measure 20, this starts the same as measure 4 with this G5 chord double stop on beat 1, sliding up 2 frets for beat 2. In measure 4 though, the first time round, we just let that ring for the rest of the measure, but in this time round we're going to add these little harmony notes on beats 3 and 4 and. So play them softer because they're not melody, they're just to fill out the arrangement. So on beat 3, C string at the 4th, and then E string at the 5th, back to C string at the 4th, but then we'll play the A string open to finish off that measure. As we play that A string open, be taking these fingers off so that we can start getting our fingers ready to land back on that E suspended 4 chord for the next measure. Okay, so those measures 19 and 20, once again a little bit slower, we would have... So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... Measures 21 and 22 should sound like this. Okay, so measure 21 is exactly the same as measure 5. And then measure 22 actually is exactly the same as measure 18 that we've just looked at. So actually nothing new in those two measures there. So let's just have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... Then measures 23 and 24 are very, very similar again to measures 7 and 8 from the A section. In fact, the only difference is that harmony note on beat 2 of measure 23, that open C string, which we play a little bit quieter. That's the only difference there compared to the first time round. Then it's measure 24, exactly the same as measure 8. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 3 and 4 and... So the second half of this B melody section now is almost identical to the second half of the A melody section. In fact, the only differences are an extra harmony note in measure 30, and then we finish off with a higher voicing of an E minor chord at the end there. Other than that, it's exactly the same as the A melody section. So measures 25 and 26 are just the same as measures 9 and 10. And then measures 27 and 28, exactly the same as measures 11 and 12. And then measure 29 is exactly the same as measure 13. And then measure 30 now is where we have this subtle change. We just have this extra harmony note on beat 2. So it starts the same way as measure 12 on this E minor add 11 chord on beat 1, but then beat 2, like I've just said, we have this extra gentle tap because it's harmony of this C string at the 4th fret, and then finish off the measure just as we did in measure 14. So that measure 30 once again. Okay, and then measures 31 and 32 identical to measures 15 and 16. The only subtle differences here is the way we play them. So because this is coming to the end of the arrangement, we're finishing off the piece here, we'll just slow things down as we go through these two measures. And then when we hit this C string at the 3rd on beat 3 of measure 32, we won't linger on that note like we did the first time round. If you remember in the A section, it had a little fermata sign over that note where we just lingered on it and just delayed our move into the B section. We won't do that this time because we're going to move straight into measure 33 just to finish off this piece with this higher voicing of the E minor chord. So on beat 1 of measure 33, we're going to play G string open, C string at the 4th with the 1st finger, E string open, then A string at the 7th with the pinky, and then play all 4 strings together on beat 1 and let that ring out. That's the end of the piece, the end of the arrangement. And you could pick those notes just all together, or you could arpeggio pick them, or you could even just strum through that chord. Whatever you think works best there at the end there, it's entirely up to you. So that is it, that's the end of the piece and the end of the arrangement. I hope you have fun learning this one, and I will see you next time.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a lot of fun. This is one of those pieces of music that just has a really cool old world vibe to it. And the fact that it works on both of those aspects, that intricacy and the speed, is just icing on the cake, right? Because this is a really good piece for developing our right hand finger picking skills, right? The first half of the song we're playing nice and slow, melody only. The second half we sped it up and we added more harmony notes and we challenged our right hand even more so than in the first half. So there's just a lot to take away from it from an etude perspective. So guys, I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off, keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Fingerpicking Etude number 32. Now, also on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this, and we will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.